Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to talk about mental piano practice and conscious awareness of the future. And right now I am still between peers, I think 11 and 15 year Wall Street in New York City. I think this is the fourth and final video that I'm going to make here. It's still a cold winter day, still enjoying it. But in any case, we care about mental piano practice and conscious awareness of the future because it allows us to do things like practice the piano mentally wherever we are. I don't need a piano in order to, practice my pieces and so on right now, to learn new pieces, to maintain old ones and so on. And it allows us to do things like learn or just start anywhere in the music from memory. So if I'm thinking of like a specific spot in Fur-Elise or Clair de Lune or River Flows in You, I can start from not only that general section, but even that exact point in the music. So these are some of the reasons why I think mental practice and this awareness, why they're so powerful. I expand on this a little more if you search David Chang, strongest memory technique for pianists. I think you'll find more elaboration there. So anyways, I'm going to expand on these ideas a little bit in this video. So on this channel, I hope to share with you guys strategies, thoughts, mindsets, etc., often of my own creation that I hope will help you in your piano playing, hopefully other areas of your life as well. And maybe we'll just walk a little bit here. So, a lot of the time when I'm doing mental practice, I'm often walking around like this, which of course can make for a pretty pleasant practice experience. When I do this, I am just mentally going over the pieces in my mind. And to clarify, it's not imagining the sheet music, it's imagining myself actually literally playing the keys. So again, if you search David Chang, I think it's called the strongest memory tool or the strongest memory technique for pianists, then you'll find more elaboration on that, how to imagine yourself just playing the keys. And there's a lot of other, if you look for the mental practice playlist on my David Chang Music YouTube channel, you'll find a lot more elaboration there as well. So that's what I mean by mental practice, imagining yourself actually playing the piano or playing the keyboard of the piano itself. And then for the conscious awareness of the future, this might seem a little bit nebulous, but just bear with me. It's basically just really knowing what is next. And that is like, it's not music theory. It's not just knowing that the next chord is like a G major chord or something like that. It's not like knowing that the next chord is like a second inversion, or like knowing that it's all black keys or something like that. Rather, it's like kind of almost like psychically knowing like exactly where your hands are going to go next, because it is like the image of you playing the next chord. That's why I think of it as the strongest memory technique. There's no ambiguity. It's just sort of like this imaging ahead where I know, for instance, that like my left hand, it could be like a C octave, and then it's like a 4 on the E and a 2 on the G, like that specific voicing of the C major chord, for instance. Or it could be that it's these two fingers, like this finger is on F sharp and this finger is on G sharp, and I can just kind of see that like very slightly into the future. It's like those areas of the keys are lit up, and then I just know like exactly where to, because it includes like fingerings, like the exact fingers to use. It includes the exact notes. It can even be all of the exact sound and feel, right? It's everything all chunked together. So I don't think that there logically can be anything stronger than just knowing exactly what to do next with your hands, even down to the sound and the feel, even apart from like the image itself. So that's what I mean by conscious awareness of the future, that when you're playing a given part, even if the part itself is not a static chord, but it's kind of moving around, that if you ask yourself things like, oh, what's right, and maybe you've all done this before, like, oh, what's next? Do I really know what's next? Like, what's the next measure? What's the next part? And often you don't really know. Your fingers are just kind of moving on their own because it's muscle memory. Well, this is when you ask yourself, oh, what's next? And you actually know what is next. Or you ask yourself like, oh, what's next in the left hand? And you actually are able to play what's next in the left hand, or you actually know, like, oh, specifically in the left hand it's going to be these notes next. So even if you're playing something that's moving right now, and then the next part that you're imagining is moving as well, you actually would understand how to come in at that point. That's what I mean by conscious awareness of the future. So with this in mind, sometimes there's this sort of little critique where people say something like, I mean, actually, I haven't heard this recently, but a while ago when I was developing some of these concepts, I think a possible counter argument could be, oh, David, like, aren't you supposed to feel, not think about the music? Like, just feel it, just go with the flow, and just emote. Maybe you're like thinking too much about what's coming next. Well, I don't think that these two things need to be mutually exclusive. It's not. That's why I think of the consciously thinking ahead, or the conscious awareness of the future. I think of it as a very positive thing, because you always know what's happening. It's much less likely that you'll have memory slips and so on. Or you can even think of it as a neutral thing, but I certainly don't think it's a negative one. And here's why. I often draw this little analogy to, if you see professional accompanists or pianists playing in a chamber group, they have sheet music in front of them, right? Those parts are not expected to be memorized. And nobody thinks that the pianist is a good pianist or a bad pianist because they have sheet music in front of them. It's just a neutral thing. They have sheet music there, they've got to turn pages, they might play badly, they might play well. You don't judge the level of the pianist based on the neutral fact that they have sheet music in front of them. And such is the case with conscious awareness of the future as well, I would say, where I'm just quietly aware, ideally, like if I've done my mental practice well, I'm just quietly aware of what's next pretty much at all times. So the ideal is that at any point when I'm playing the pieces that I'm playing, if I ask myself, like, hey, what actually is next? I actually know. And so even if I'm messing up in the present, I'm able to come in on the next part seamlessly if I've done my preparations well. So it's like I'm playing wrong notes, I'm messing something up. But when I ask myself, hey, what's next? I have conscious awareness of the future, so I can just come in on the next measure without even missing a beat. That really is the ideal. So first of all, it's neutral in the sense of my conscious awareness of the future is like the accompanist having sheet music in front of them. It doesn't really like prove that I'm a good or a bad pianist, but it's a useful thing to have. The accompanist, it's very helpful that they have the sheet music in front of them, which they can reference when they need to. And it's very helpful that I have conscious awareness of the future, where I can see a little bit into the future, so that if I have any kind of like little issues, my muscle memory doesn't carry me through, I'm able to come in on the next beat or the next part as seamlessly as possible. And even if I'm not having an issue in the moment, I think it's a good idea to know what's coming next anyway, so that I'm not relying solely on muscle memory. Really, the ideal would be to have perfect muscle memory and perfect conscious awareness, and they're each like kind of perfect backup plans, backup systems for each other. So anyway, I really think of it, you can think of it as neutral because it's just a thing that you have, like sheet music for the accompanist. I prefer to think of it as really positive, because when you really know what's coming next, then you're able to actually focus fully on emoting and expressing the emotion, because you're not so worried about memory slips anymore. So that's what I'd say there. And I kind of already said it earlier, but in terms of their relation to each other, as you may have guessed, the stronger that your mental practice is, the better that you'll be able to be consciously aware of the future. And in fact, they're really one and the same thing. Pure mental practice is really pure conscious awareness, independent of muscle memory, independent of your fingers just kind of moving automatically. That is just how much you're actually aware of in the music itself. So this is kind of like if you write the fingering for a given piece and you start doing mental practice of it right away without even physically playing, you're basically just practicing your pure awareness of what those notes actually are before you've had a chance to kind of get it into your muscle memory. So I think it's an interesting experiment to try sometimes as well. And anyway, in any case, maybe that was like a little bit of a tangent, but if I do really strong mental practice, I'm able to imagine my playing really, really clearly. When I ask myself, what's coming next, and that section that's next is the part that I mentally practiced, my answer should be that I know exactly what's coming next. Like that mental practice that I did, those are the images and sounds and feels that come up in the moment. So really secretly they're one and the same. So if there's any part where, let's say I'm practicing like section 1, and then I'm trying to consciously image into the future, like I want to know what's coming next, right? Section 2. If I didn't know section 2, that's the part that I should be mentally practicing away from the piano. But of course, if you diligently mentally practice the entire piece, hopefully, then presumably you would always have really great conscious awareness of the future. So anyways, I hope that helps. Let me know if you have questions. I know some of it's a little bit nebulous. I think going through like my mental practice playlist on the David Chang Music channel, it should really help. And hopefully if you do really good mental practice of those given sections, you will find that when you play sections leading into those parts, that you are always able to consciously image ahead. And if you've done mental practice of the whole piece, then you should be able to have conscious awareness of the future the whole time. But it's something that I think that you can also literally practice by asking yourself while you're playing, do I know what's coming next? And as you do that, you'll find more and more consistently that I think your images become clearer. It is a skill that can and should be trained. And then you'll know what to practice when you're away from the piano as well too, through mental practice. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Please like, subscribe, let other people know about the channel if you did, and looking forward to the next one.